Hey, you guys, as promised, I'm back with another update to my faith journey. Today's a new week, it's a new day. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us have an attitude of gratitude, just giving thanks for all the little things that we oftentimes take for granted, because it's in reflecting on those little things and having the right heart posture that when life gets to life and we're faced with trials and tribulations, we can push past those moments because we are reminded that the same God that blessed us with those little things is the same God that will bless us to get through these tough times. Today has been a pretty good day so far. I got my day started off at Planet Fitness. I got my good cardio workout in, and then I headed on over to Whole Foods to get a few healthy snacks because your girl is definitely trying to be intentional about taking good care of this body. I realize that I'm not the owner, God is, and I'm just the person that has possession over this body. I definitely want to be a good steward and ensure that I am consuming the right things and maintaining a lifestyle of activity. And so, yeah, that's extremely important to me. So yesterday I got my day started off at like 5 a.m. as I then went to head on over to the 8 a.m. service at Faith Inspirational Church, which is led by Pastor Rafer Owens. And shout out to my new sis, Tamora, who invited me, and shout out to Akila, who kept his word and plugged me in with some amazing women of God. That's how I was able to meet Tamora. We had an awesome, amazing conversation on the phone on this past Saturday. It was like over 2 hours long as we just talked about the goodness of God and how he's been moving in our lives and sharing those personal testimonies. And so, but yeah, she invited me to her church. The word was good. The preacher gave a sermon, The Good Shepherd. And one of the notes I took down is, if you are in want, if you are in need, you have not been to the shepherd. And that rang true for me and my life, because oftentimes on this journey, I'm just so focused on the assignments and what it is God is calling or wanting me to do, that I realized when it came to certain wants or needs or desires or requests, like I really just hadn't spoken to God about it. Like we speak about all these other things, but I hadn't really like gone to him about these specific things. And so in that moment I was reminded that he is the good shepherd. His word tells us that, he will supply our every need according to his riches and his glory. And so all we got to do is just surrender it to him, and he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And so that was a definitely much needed reminder for me in this season of my life. As I'm sitting there after that church service ended, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my time, because I had plans on attending another event for my sis Stephanie, who was speaking at another church, but it didn't start until 12:30. And so as I'm sitting in my car figuring out what I'm going to do with all this time I have, I remembered that my coach, Dr. Dorsey, had invited me some time ago to his church, which is Antioch in Long Beach. And so I put it into my GPS and saw that it was like literally only 18 minutes away. So I was able to make it just in time for their 10:30 a.m. service. And I shot him a text message because I wasn't sure if he was out of town on assignment. But I just wanted to let him know that I would be popping through or stopping through to visit. And as I'm going into the sanctuary, I realized I don't have my notebook or my Bible. I had left it in my car. So I run back to my car to go get it. Who do I bump into? Dr. Dorsey. So that was the perfect opportunity for me to greet him and give him a quick hug and just say, hey. I could not stay to chat with him afterwards because I had to head to Stephanie's event. But yeah, I really truly enjoyed the word that was given there. And that's led by Pastor Wayne Chaney, and he was speaking on relational maturity. And it was one of those words like, sir, you really in my business? Like, did God call you up and say, hey, this is what she going through? Because it's like, how you know my business? Like, really? But I want to share part of that word with you guys. He talked about, people having issues, and I am people, and that definitely rang true for me, because one thing God is doing in this season of my life is showing me. He's showing me all these areas where there's still room for growth, and he's definitely constantly changing my perspective about things. But he goes on to talk about how we have to put on compassion. We have to see people through their deficits. There are a lot of people with insecurities, hurt, pain, and they're battling all these things, and we have to handle people with care. And for me, it's kind of like, that's a no-brainer, because it's something that has come so natural for me. But I'll be honest, like in this current season of my life where I'm at, because I have done the work to heal, because I have done the work to love myself and learn how important it is to pour into myself, value me, see my worth as a woman, and know who I am, and as a woman of God, then it's like there are certain behaviors and things that my tolerance is just not what it used to be. My patience is just not what it used to be. And so you know, finding balance in all of that, because it's kind of like when you're trying your best not to be a person that you were in your prior season of your life, and you're trying to embrace this new version of you, the better and improved version of you, but then you're faced with similar scenarios, but you're trying to just find balance. And then also when it comes to a thing that God is telling you to do versus you just operating in your own will, then it's much different. So he goes on to talk about how we have to put on compassion, put on kindness, humility, patience, love, how love is the perfect bond of unity, and how the road to patience is announced as offense and delay. And if that ain't the truth, because you know, when you are dealing with people that are in a season of their life where like they still got all this work to do, and they got all these issues and this trauma and things like that, these people that he speak of that need to be handled with care, they're going to say or do some things that's likely going to offend you, and you have to learn how to handle that, because God wants us to reflect the love of Jesus. He wants us to love other people. And it's kind of like, yeah, the old version of me had no problem doing that, but the new version of me, who now loves herself and values herself, she ain't tolerating foolishness. But it's a little different, because it's like now this is God saying, okay, this is who I've assigned you to, or you know, in this season I want you to serve these people and do this and do that. And so I want to be obedient. I want to show them the love of Jesus Christ, but it's a little challenging. So then the preacher then goes on to talk about how you know, a lot of us, we look to avoid suffering. We don't want to suffer, and I'll be honest, I definitely don't want to suffer. And then he talks about patience, and Lord knows my patience has been tested and tried during this season. And he says, what is patience? Patience is long suffering. What is long suffering? What does that mean? It means to suffer long. Well, how long is long? Much longer than what you want. And so he then begins to say how like long suffering begins at that moment when you get to this place where you're like, you know what, I can't do this no more. This don't feel good. This hurt. I'm trying. I gave it my all. I ain't got nothing else left to give. Like, I'm just at my wit's end. And definitely I've been in that space a whole lot recently. As it relates to things that God is having me to do and people he's having me to serve. I'm just kind of like, I would much rather walk away and avoid it because it don't feel good. And I'm tired of this. Like, no. And he says that it's not until you reach that place in that moment that the long suffering just begins. So it's like, I know you lying. Like, you mean to tell me this is just the beginning? Like, I got to go through more than this? Like, and then he got to talking about, you know, volcanic ashes and how, like, you know, when you're going through the fire and that refinement. And those are some of the things that I've been talking about. And I lie to you guys not, like, it just does not feel good. And so, you know, I'm like, this is definitely much so a word, but I'm reminded. And then he also speaks to how, like, you know, although we're tempted to avoid these people or these situations, but some of these are the very things that are going to bring us to our destiny. And so I'm just like, Lord. So it's definitely a challenge, but that was definitely a word that resonated with me. And speaking of, I kind of want to just talk about navigating what's next. And so it's like, you know, as I'm juggling, you know, the challenges of other relationships, but God is definitely steadily blessing me with new community and new relationships. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to experience. So after Stephanie and I were about to leave the church, there was this moment where she says, oh, you're coming home? And when she said that, I'm like, oh, you said home. And I'm like, I guess this really is my home. And so just embracing that California is now my new home. And honestly, like, today's been a little bit of a challenge because DoorDash is going so slow. I've literally only got a few orders. And I just know that God ain't sent me all the way out here to California to be a part of the DoorDash ministry. So it's kind of like, God, okay, what are we going to do? And so I did spend some time on yesterday, you know, working on some new ideas to update my website, my booking site, and just my bio for makeup and things like that. But y'all, like, you know, your girl is now new to California. I'm in the area of Orange County. So if you know any photographers, videographers, wardrobe stylists, models, or whatever that's looking to connect, go ahead and plug your girl in. That's the update that I have for you guys. My name is Caressa. I hope and pray that if this video reached your timeline, it reached you in great spirits and in great health. I love you guys. I'll be back soon with another update.